Welcome everyone to my tutorial. We are doing Musa from Winx Club today. Feel free to follow the stamps wherever you need the project done. I didn't record all of my materials and what they look like, so feel free to pause here, take a gander at the list. I'm also going to put it in the description as well. But this is everything you'll need, and like I said in the description, you'll pretty much have everything else that you need. For the top and the skirt, it's going to be a simple process. I used a tank top with one sleeve and a short skirt that I had from Blackfire from Teen Titans. But basically all we're going to do is trace around the outside of both clothing materials. You're going to cut them out, and that'll be the shape of her top and her skirt. For the shoes, I didn't film myself doing this part either, but it's a really simple process. My white go-go boots here, you're gonna lay it on its side, trace around it on some butcher paper, or even just a paper bag from like Staples. Trace around it, cut out the fabric, and you just make sure when you're cutting it that it's as even as possible. Make sure you flip it over for the opposite boot, and we'll go from there. Next, for our project, for most of the materials that we'll be sewing with today, we'll be using a zigzag stitch. That's the letter C for me on my machine. This next portion is just basically showing you my sewing techniques. If it's anywhere like the boots where it needs to be flat, you just make sure that you keep both sides of the material stretched out as you're sewing down, and anything under the foot, that's the little metal plate you see right there poking up, is as flat as you possibly can. This portion is basically showing you how to start a stitch. You're gonna take this button here, that's your backwards stitch. Should be easy to see on most machines. You're gonna press it down, and basically whenever I even start a stitch, I start a couple inches backwards and then I go forwards from there to basically put a seal on the end of it so it doesn't unravel. Once you get a start going, you're gonna hold these two threads towards the back of the machine, and as you're pulling, you're slowly going to basically anywhere that you pin down holding the fabrics together, you're going to just sew a little, take a pin out as you see here, and just hold that back portion of the fabric so it doesn't gather up, and eventually you won't have to hold it anymore. But you just sew a little and take out a pin, and that's all I'll be showing you for these next couple reels. When you get to the end of your stitch, you're gonna do like we did in the beginning. You're just going to sew backwards a little and sew forward again, just so you have that nice seal so nothing will unravel. This next portion is me testing the skirt. As you can see, I've completely sewn it all the way around, but this is just testing it to see how it fits, and basically with each part of the clothing, you sew it together, and if it doesn't fit quite right, you can take like a seam ripper and basically find where the end of your stitch ends, unravel it, and add a little more material or less material if you need it. Also forgot to mention areas like here where it's the folds between two fabrics. You'll want to place that underneath one edge of your fabric and make it kind of flat, so that way when everything's sewn together, everything will be nice and flat against you and nothing will be poking out. These are how your boots are gonna look once everything's sewn on. This is materials that you can slide on and slide off of your boots so it doesn't ruin your boots forever. And then I'll teach you this last trick that I learned from Kirilee Cosplay. I'll put her tutorial in the description just to keep yourself from sliding. So these are shoe grips that you can get on Amazon. They are adhesive on one side, and basically you just take the adhesive off and stick it to the bottom of your shoe, and so you'll have an actual shoe grip to walk around on floors with and not slide everywhere. It's a really great tutorial. Again, I'll put her tutorial link in the description below, but basically it's easy peasy. Any fabrics at the bottom, kind of flatten them, and then you'll put your shoe grips on the bottoms of your shoes. And as I said before, you can take the material off your shoe now and put it on later, and it should fit correctly. This is how the top came out. Everything fit nice and easily. All my seams are nice and together. And now I will show you what the outfit looks like. So here we are paired with our shoes. This is the top and skirt completely done. I was super happy, and now we will move on. Forgot to say one thing about the shoes. Just walk around in them for a couple minutes, see how they feel. But if the shoe grips come off, then just make sure that you tighten your fabrics on the end and should be good from there. Next part of the tutorial is my favorite part, the hair. But as you can see, my ponytail is darker than my base, so we're gonna dye that today. To dye my base wig, you're gonna take a stainless steel pot, a really tall one, and some Rit Synthetic Dye in Midnight Navy. Before dyeing our wig, you're always detangle before putting it in the water. As all tutorials should be saying, you start at the bottom of the wig, detangle anything down there, and then you'll pretty much go upwards from there. If you start from the crown, it'll pull out your hairs, and we do not want that with our tutorial today. But yeah, as you can see, I'm just slowly, little by little, just taking a comb, combing through the bottom portions of the wig until it's nice and straight, and you keep going until everything is nice and neat before dipping it in any form of water. As I got closer to the top of the wig, I started what's called finger detangling, which is the same thing. You're just combing the wig but with your fingers. This is just to get any really big, huge sections out that you can't get with a comb. But I tend to use 3 different types of combs, a metal comb and a plastic comb, and my fingers, and that detangles the wig pretty well. Next, you're gonna fill your pot with hot water about halfway, which is where my finger is pointing. Then you're gonna turn your stove up to high. For me, that's just to speed up the process, but you'll want to put it on like a medium-high temperature setting. After that, you're going to dip your wig in the dye bath, follow the dye bath instructions, and basically I keep a bucket of cold water nearby for color comparison, but of course you're not going to know how these wigs are going to turn out until they dry. So after taking my wig out, as you can see, I might have had it a little too high, so that's why I suggest doing like a medium high temperature for wigs. So this portion took me a couple days to detangle, but I just did like we did before with the finger detangling and the comb, and I finally got my wig back to the way it was. So in order to get my ponytails the same way, I had to take a bucket of cold water and some softener just to loosen up the fibers a little bit. And we're gonna put like a quarter of a cap, well, I guess that's a little bit, not quite half, but close enough. And you're going to mix it in some water, and basically you're gonna let your wigs soak overnight, and that'll help soften them up to make the detangling portion a little bit easier. This is the next day with my base wig, and this is how it came out the following day after brushing all day long. Going back to my pigtails, I took some synthetic conditioning spray. I sprayed it a little, and once again we took a few more days. I'd say this took me about a week to get everything back to normal, but I just finger combed through the wig to get as much knots out as possible. This next part I'll show you the hot water method to show you how to get the wig straight again. You want your water to get into a nice bubbling boil just like this, where you see the bubbles actually shooting to the top of the pan. And now we're going to take our lovely wig and dip her inside. Safety first, putting on our kitchen gloves. I know they don't protect from heat, but that's all I had at the moment. You're going to take the wig, start at the very end. Remember to get it as detangled as you possibly can before putting it in the water. And slowly, little by little, you see I'm not fully dunking it in there like the cold water. We're just slowly, little by little, dipping and going down and dipping. And we don't want to comb while the wig is wet. We want to just let it be. And so that way the fibers just go down by themselves. And also forgot to mention, if you have any clips inside, make sure to take those out. Loosen the elastic that the pigtails usually come in. Take the clips out, because if you do this with clips inside, it's going to melt your wig, and you don't want that either. But yeah, slowly but surely, just take your time, dipping it little by little, slowly putting different portions in. And basically after that, you're going to just let it sit on a towel overnight, and then you'll detangle once more until the wig is nice and straight again. This portion isn't necessarily needed, but I just ran the wig under some lukewarm water, not cold but lukewarm, and did a little bit of detangling, just to help get anything that's super knotted. But after the hot dye, hot water bath, my wig seemed to be fine.
Now that our ponytails are way more manageable, we will let them sit overnight and get started on the rest of the detangling. Last but not least, we're going to finish up the rest of the wig. As you can see, she's going to need a little trim here in the front, and I'll show you how to do that in just a second.
First, you're going to find all of the hairs from your bangs and comb them to the very front of your wig. And basically just take tiny combs and sort through as much as possible. You're not really supposed to cut wigs this way with the scissors straight across, but I feel like it gets a lot more of the hairs done easily. Like cut more easier is what I should say. And then once you feel you have the nice length that you need, you can take your straightener and just start turning the ends. I have my straightener on about 200 degrees because every synthetic wig has different heat settings that it can go through. But I bought that wig a long time ago, so I couldn't remember. So what my suggestion here is to just go with the lowest setting possible, and if it's not heating up the wig enough, then go a little bit higher. But I seem to find over the years that most wigs at the lowest can go to about 200 degrees the lowest, maybe no more than 300 at the highest. After you get your bangs nice and sorted, we're going to take the back part of the base and put it into big pigtails. The rest of your hairs should not really be seen once they're tied up. You can actually take whatever portions of the hairs that are left and just comb it over, and it'll make the back part of your hair less seen. So slowly, just little by little, you'll part the hair in half, comb over any portions that you don't want to be seen, and honestly once your pigtails are done, the rest won't be seen as much. Next is going to be the red mesh that goes in the middle of her stomach. I didn't have a red mesh fabric, so I had a beige one. I dyed it red with the Rit Synthetic Dye. This is me giving it a cold water bath. And this upcoming portion of the tutorial that's coming up next is how you're supposed to wash this material in the washing machine, which people don't tend to show often. But yeah, make sure that when you're rinsing, no dye comes out, and here we go.
Next, I'm gonna throw my fabric in with some dark clothes, and we're going to do a warm color wash. So we're gonna set the temperature to normal, which will have it on a nice, lovely, come on, focus, a warm setting, and you just want a little bit of speed, so about medium.
Next is me pinning the mesh fabric to the top. As I will explain later on in the tutorial, you won't have to put all 3 portions together. That just feels like a lot of work, so I just sewed it to the top and left the skirt as a skirt. But essentially, you take the top portion of the mesh, pin it to the bottom of your top, and where the back portion of the fabric is, you hold those 2 sides together with a clip. I'm using Wonder Clip, so I'll put that in the description as well. and just take your time pinning it down. You want every single section down all the way across the entire shirt, so that way you don't get any holes. And sorry about this portion being dark, but that's when my light bulb had blew out and I didn't have another one. But yeah, as you can see, I'm just taking my time pinning it everywhere, so less likely for the fabric to fall. But you want to make sure you got every portion possible and slowly take it off the bodice.
This is how your shirt's going to turn out. Mine got a little tuckered in on this last side, but that's okay. That'll be your back side. And then just cut off the extra fabric at the bottom. You can put the top and skirt together if you want to, but I'm just going to leave them as two separate pieces.
Last portion of the tutorial, we are going to do the wings. Essentially, I forgot to make myself record when I was making them, but all you need is some 12 gauge wire and some duct tape. You're going to make 4 little, I'll call them loops. Make them about the same size, and in between them you'll just wrap it around with some duct tape until it stays. And the next portion, we're just going to take our cellophane paper. I had some light blue cellophane paper from Michaels that you could use, and you're going to cut out a piece big enough to cover all 4 sides. And all I did essentially was just hot glue the wire to the cellophane, and I did that for all 4 wings. And you just take your time, so you put a little bit of glue and you just stick the wire down, and you do that for both portions. Once you have everything glued down, you're gonna just stick both sides together and cut around it, as you'll see in a moment. This is just me showing my gluing process. You just lay it down, put some glue down all around it, and you, like I said, you just keep going around until each side is glued down. This will take a while, so I just threw on a movie, and yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. And as I said before, you glue down both sides, put a little extra glue once you get the wire pinned down. Then you put your other cellophane piece on top and cut around it with your scissors. Easy peasy lemon squeezy.
These are the finished wings. Nothing too fancy, and I put a little hook on the inside so that way it can lay inside the back of my shirt to where it looks basically seamless. For the headphones, I just had a simple pair of purple headphones. I tried my best to get the label off, but as you can see by the duct tape, I didn't do a good job, so I just covered it up with duct tape. But it should still give the same results as the headphones that she wears.
And that's it for my Musa tutorial. I hope you guys enjoyed everything. If you have any questions, leave a lovely comment below, like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you guys soon.